Isolation has a sound. It's the creak of floorboards in an empty house, the hiss of wind through a cracked window, the endless buzz of thoughts you can't turn off. For most of us, silence is peace, but for some, silence becomes an enemy, a breeding ground for paranoia. In 1990, in the small coastal settlement of Aramoana, New Zealand, one man's silence finally broke, and when it did, it took 13 lives with it. David Gray was 33 years old. He lived alone in a weathered white house just a short walk from the sea. He had no partner, no children, and few friends. Most people in Aramoana knew him only as the quiet guy at the end of the road. But Gray's solitude wasn't peaceful. He was withdrawn, often irritable. He spent long hours reading books about war and weapons. Neighbors recalled his temper, his explosive rants, and his obsession with guns. Doctors would later suggest Gray showed signs of untreated paranoid psychosis. He believed people were watching him, that his neighbors were against him. In his mind, small slights became evidence of conspiracy. The walls of his loneliness pressed in tighter and tighter. On November 13, 1990, tensions with his neighbor Gary Holden finally snapped. The two had argued before, usually about petty things. But that evening, the argument escalated into shouting. Then, in a moment that would change everything, Gray stormed inside, retrieved his semi-automatic rifle, and returned. He shot Gary multiple times, killing him instantly. Inside the house, Gary's two young daughters, 11-year-old Chiquita and 9-year-old Jasmine, had been watching in horror. Gray turned his weapon on them both. Neither survived. Moments later, 6-year-old Leo, a neighbor's child who had come over to play, tried to flee. Gray fired again and the boy collapsed. The massacre had begun. The sound of gunfire tore through the quiet streets of Aramoana. People thought at first it was fireworks, but when the screams followed, they realized something was terribly wrong. Gray moved from house to house. He shot anyone he saw. Some victims were neighbors who had come outside to investigate. Others were people who simply crossed his path at the wrong time. He killed 13 people in total. Men, women, children. One man died while trying to protect his family. Another victim was gunned down while bravely warning others to run. Yet in the chaos, some survived. James Dixon later recalled, "I hid under the table. I could hear him outside, reloading, firing again. I thought I was going to die." Police swarmed into the area, but Gray fired at them too. At one point, he set his own house on fire, smoke rising like a signal of his fury. The standoff stretched through the night into the next day. After nearly 22 hours of terror, police cornered Gray. In a final gunfight, he was fatally shot. The rampage was over. In the end, 13 innocent lives were lost in Aramoana. Children, parents, neighbors. A close-knit seaside community scarred forever. David Gray wasn't remembered as a monster in the sense of legend. He was a man consumed by untreated paranoia, swallowed by loneliness, and driven by rage. The tragedy of Aramoana wasn't just the violence of one night, but the years of silence that preceded it. Because silence can be peaceful, but left unchecked, it can also fester into something far more dangerous.